Mm-mm. Welcome to another day of Bible prophecy. My name is Prophet Shirley Roselle. The title of this is Part Bible Prophecy 2010, Part 23. Uh, Let me, as I get started on this one here, I just kind of ran into a little technical difficulty in recording this year. One of the recordings stopped on me. I'm working three machines today trying to create these here, but just bear with me and while I talk because this is going on YouTube. It's nothing happened to it, but I have to make a backup copies to these things because way events is unfolding themselves. I have to have something for a primary and a secondary record. In other words, that which I put on YouTube goes on a separate record, and that's what I put on DVD goes on separate record. But however, the equipment kind of old or something that I did wrong, and they're not corresponding with one with the other. In other words, one indicated that there had been a fault, a primary delay that one of them had quit on. And so by one quitting on me, I have to take it and remove it from this chamber and just leave it there and record from this one DVD. In other words, I'm trying to burn two DVDs in this. Let me get started since I can't use that one. As I always begin my subject, I like to talk on some issues that surrounding us today. But before I start on this here, then I want to start at St. Matthew chapter 7. It's something that I have seen in here that interests me, that I would like to discuss to you so you could make a judgment of what is and what ain't. A few days ago, I was listening to CNN News where they said Barack Obama was imposing a wiretap on telephone conversation. This was to seize anybody talking to Al Qaeda or drug dealers and all of this. Well, I'd mentioned this in my DVD recording that I'm putting over YouTube. As God sent me here as a prophet, preparing the way for the return of Jesus Christ, there's a measure as He required of me in Ezekiel chapter 2 that I may speak to the world, the entire world, concerning their transgression. And done so, one of these was the drug-infested nations which they use here in the United States of America and everywhere else. The people who do not have a natural resource to cover their currency, they find a way to try to basket weave drugs into their system and to create a magnet to be used as a supplement. I use that as a vocabulary point to compensate for the natural resource they don't have to enhance their currency. In other words, to make it valuable. And so there's taking everything out of the sink and out of the kitchen flour barrel. The barrel is empty and everything, trying to enhance their growth, economic growth of their currency. That's what some of these rich nations have done. I have looked at that. That's the reason my eye flashed on St. Matthew chapter 27. Chapter 7 is what I want to start off with, but I want to talk about other issues. Go over some of the same issues and clarify, because it's essential that you know who is your God, who are you serving, who's the Antichrist, and knowing the country and the nation upon which you live in, how do they stand with God in Bible prophecy. In other words, you don't want to be following a blind leader, because a blind leader can't do nothing but lead you into destruction. So you don't want to follow no blind leader. It doesn't matter who he is. Your primary goal is to live here on earth and maintain the status quo of righteousness and holiness. And while doing so, you have to make sure that the peoples you dwell among and the peoples, they're not scorpions, if you know what that means. Because the scorpion is no good for nothing, and they're not brass. So you have to understand where you are at all times, just as if you was traveling up on a major highway and there was traffic. You got to be aware of your surroundings along your journey to make sure that your journey is complete and intact. There's no way that you can make sure that your journey is complete and intact if there's something that causes a distraction to the mind to make you veer off to the left or to the right when the pathway is straight ahead of you. We have to be mindful of the surroundings that surround us, that we may not fall into a pitfall of destruction along our journey. Journey to eternal life is just like driving up on a highway. Well, they said the man wanted to bug our telephone. Why? They said to fight drugs, just in case Al Qaeda is talking to us. Is that so? My God, this is not. This is the biggest lie that ever could be told. When you look at the chart that God gave us, and I drawed it out to make it plain. He told me in the book of Habakkuk to make it plain. So I had to take and create symbols through the mind and present them in front of you to show you what God is talking about. Is the bugging of our telephones is to catch Al Qaeda talking to us, or is it designed to see as we talking to drug dealers? Not so. Why did I say this here? Because how come they didn't bug the telephone? This drug war dealing been going on 40 years. I know this because it was plaguing the earth. How come 40 years later, after I get to talking to the people, telling them you got to take away the fuel that fuels the fire? We don't need our telephone bug now, because you've spent the last 40 years fighting drugs and you never brought it into control. What is you gonna bug the phone now for? When Jesus is on the forefront of returning, I'm been speaking these things, telling you that I'm on private, preparing the way for the return of Jesus Christ. The mindset of bugging our telephone is not to catch Al Qaeda, not to catch the drug dealer, but to see who all know the Antichrist. It is depriving us out of our basic fundamental right of privacy. It's not designed to catch a drug dealer, but to catch who understand the true meaning of what's really going on. To intimidate us and create a fear among us that we cannot talk to the righteous man about righteousness, but we can talk to the unjust man about injustice. We cannot explain to the righteous man of telling them who is against us and who is not. You use it as a form of intimidation where you could take and create a crime if a man talked to a man because of his righteousness.